Um, we'll probably finish within about 45 minutes. All right. And and then at the end of that, if you want to talk to us or put down questions at any point, just, just put in that, in the Q&A thing or whatever, and we'll reply to you afterwards. Okay. So as we go through, I'm not going to read off the screen. I'm not really a fan of PowerPoints anyways, but I'll just sort of talk about the Institute and what we do and why we do it and stuff like that. And you can read some extra stuff on the screen there a bit. So we're the moment with the Irish Institute of Nutrition and Health since 2002. We're sort of transiting at the moment to a slightly different name. We're going to call ourselves the International Institute. And that's partly because we're getting more and more people studying from around the world, different parts of the world, because much of our activity with our students tends to take place online these days, including the sort of presentations and lectures and support and stuff like that. So, but we're still going to be IINH anyway. So, and you can find out, of course, a lot more about our courses on the website, and that's the best place to find out about us. So, my own background is in nutrition. I've been in nutrition all my life since the 60s. I trained in nutrition at London University and then went off to start a career, as I thought, in nutrition, academic career. And I went to Helsinki University for a few years and then realized that I didn't want to do that. I wanted to work with people. So I basically spent my life in clinical work, developing clinical protocols to work with people and personalized nutrition and also education teaching. So I've been living in Ireland since 23 years now. And so the Institute I created in 2002, and also have a background in Chinese medicine as well. So that sort of helps really sometimes to explain things to people and to get a bigger picture of things. But our courses, we were the first college in Ireland to train nutritional therapists and nutritional health coaches. And I think we were the first, certainly in Europe, with an international proper recognizable qualification in nutrition and health coaching. And you probably are aware that coaching is becoming a big thing now, particularly in the States, in North America. But of course, as we all know, things that, for good or bad, things that originate in North America tend to find their way across the pond to us. And so coaching is becoming quite a buzzword these days, health coaching in Europe and around the world as well. So I'll move on because I don't want to spend too much time on this for your sakes. So we do, at the moment, we're really offering two big courses, and a number of smaller ones as well. But the main ones are these. And in fact, if you want to do either coaching or nutritional therapy, you have to do the coaching first. That's the first thing to understand. But we're slightly different from other colleges in that regard. And there's several good reasons for that. So, in other words, basically you enter and do the coaching program first, which is a 9-month part-time program, which can be studied either fully online or blended. We have quite a few important awarding bodies that you should know about. So I'll talk about those as we go through so that you can get a clear idea of where they fit together. So first of all, what is a nutrition and health coach? So really this course is a kind of hybrid course in a way, because it's a coaching course. So you're coaching people towards better health behaviors. It's behavior change we're really after, isn't it? I'm not sure you appreciate that. But it's also very important to understand that people also need actual information and guidance around diet, because people are very confused often about what is right for them. And with the new knowledge that personalization in the nutrition space is the big thing for the future, then we have to help people to discover what's best for them. So this one-size-fits-all approach that we've all grown up with in the last century is evaporating quickly now into something far more interesting and meaningful and productive and useful. So a nutrition and health coach really is someone who works with anyone who has health related goals, usually for themselves, but sometimes for their children, perhaps, or partner or something. And sometimes, and often, people want to turn this into at least a part-time career option as well, because of course it's so rewarding to help other people, especially if you have a sort of passion for this kind of area, for nutrition and health and stuff like that. So the opportunities as it stands at the moment are gigantic in the future, because everyone who comes into this space is an early adopter, really, still. And fact is that everyone eats. So wherever you work, whatever setting your life is situated, basically, there's people around you who will not only need your input, but probably increasingly want it actively and be aware of that they need something. You'll learn about this if you do the course, because you have to do 4 case studies as part of the program at the end, to the second part of the course. And you have to find your clients. And I can assure you won't have any problems finding clients, because people are getting increasingly interested in engaging with people that they feel they can help them in this regard. So essentially what's happening is that people are waking up to the knowledge that if you want to look after your health for the future, if you want longevity, if you want to die healthily, basically, you have to look after yourself. And that means essentially your diet and lifestyle behaviors and stress management and stuff like that. And that's what coaching is all about. This kind of profession, this kind of input is not available really in healthcare, traditional healthcare, because that's not how medicine and stuff is set up, as you know, I'm sure. So prevention and wellness are not really parts of modern healthcare. It's all about treating disease and stuff like that. So this is a very new kind of approach. And it's very much a community-based approach, grassroots approach to helping people, and showing some spectacular results as well in various contexts. So there's lots of ways in which people can work. They can work individually with people one-to-one, and that's probably the core competency that you develop as a coach. But a lot of people want to teach and want to give courses and stuff like that. So that's part of what we offer in the course as well, including giving presentations and things like that. So people work one-to-one. They can work in groups, small groups, pairs, 3 people, maybe offering something together with different sort of emphases. They can give courses. They can go into corporate settings, especially if they're in a corporate setting already. Of course, a lot of people don't want to leave their jobs and work full-time as a coach necessarily. They might want to just bring it into where they live or where they work. So we have quite a few people from medical backgrounds, nurses and pharmacists and doctors and stuff like that on the course. But we also have a lot of teachers, especially primary teachers, who come on the course because they want to bring this knowledge with a bit of confidence behind it and science back into their setting of where they live, where they work, and so that they can talk to students and kids and parents and stuff like that. So the job opportunities and future potentials for coaching are, well, they're unlimited, really. I mean, everyone eats, as I said. So we know now very clearly that really the diet is the kind of cornerstone of health and longevity. And there's an awful lot wrong with both how many people eat and what they eat as well. So this is really what the course covers. It's a practical course in that sense as well. Lots of graduate career paths for coaches. And we've got our coaches working in all of these different kinds of settings you see in front of you now. Quite a few of these sort of influencers, bloggers, and people like that are out there at the moment have done our course. And that seems to be an increasingly important way to reach people as well. So I'm going to explain how the course works now. So this is the Nutrition and Health Coaching Program. And the next one begins in September, sort of late September. And this year, for the first time, we're going to use a new, slightly different way to deliver the course. We've noticed that over the last few years that the people who have signed up for attendance, the attendance version of the course, are actually deciding to stay at home very often, just particularly during the later part of the course, because they realize that they don't actually need necessarily to come to class because everything is on the platform. They can download the videos, the audio podcasts, all the material that they can read on screen or print out, download onto their phones, whatever. So it actually works very nicely, the platform that we have. So what we're going to do this year is still have attendance, but somewhat less attendance. Instead of 10 weekends, we're going to have 6 weekends. And we're going to deliver the course in a slightly different way. So what we're going to do is to give you the material at the beginning of the course, some of the material, and it'll be released sequentially through the course on certain dates, and everyone gets it at the same time. But the idea is that you have to engage with the material before the next meeting in class. So this is a so-called flipped classroom or inverted classroom approach, which is being used a lot now around the world by universities and all kinds of institutes. And it actually, so it's a clean break really from the traditional way that we all grew up with coming to a classroom and being sitting there and being taught new stuff by the tutor or teacher. So you engage with the material in its different forms at home, and then this is followed up by a weekend where we discuss the stuff. It's not actually taught, but it's discussed, and it's a kind of more of a sort of workshopy and discussion forum kind of event. But in the meantime, before that weekend, what we do, and this is important to understand, is that there are going to be tutorials. So the tutorials are held with this Zoom platform, this Zoom tool that you're using right now, every week. So on either on a Wednesday or a Thursday night, I will hold a 2-hour tutorial for you, which you can join. And if you can't join it, then it's recorded anyway, so you can download it onto your phone as an audio file if you want to, and you wouldn't expect you to attend everything. But the more that you can attend, the better, obviously. So this is important because then this allows us to go through the material, to discuss things, to have questions answered, and to also to meet each other as well as me. I'm the main tutor on this program. So right from the start of the course, there are these tutorials held once a week on Wednesday or Thursday evening. And as I said, they can be downloaded if you can't attend. So we also, we'll have the first weekend, although the course begins in September, that's the first tutorials and the first materials released in sort of mid to late September. The first weekend of attendance, if you wish to attend, if you can attend, is going to be in October, sometime in, I think, late in October. And then, probably about a month later or 6 weeks later, there'll be another one or two. So that essentially there are going to be a number of weekends, including 2 full days of cooking. If you can attend that, that'd be great, because I think that it's important that we getting actually engaged with the food itself as well. So the workload that we are told by people is somewhere between 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a week, depending on how fast you want to study and how deep you want to go into the material. So this is manageable for people with busy lives. So you can do the whole thing online, and even people who live locally in Bray and Dublin will often do the whole thing online, because they've got children, they're not free at weekends. It's fine. It works perfectly well online because of the interaction and the support through the tutorials and other ways. So there are also moderated forums on the platform, which are really useful. It's a way to share things and talk to each other. and that's moderated by us as well. Then while you're doing your case studies, so in the second part of the course, starting in January, you start doing your 4 case studies, which is the in-depth assignment that you have to do with people that have asked for your help. And of course, you need plenty of support while that's going on. So you might get most of that probably from me on the forums or on the tutorials, because that's when we handle these questions a lot. And you know, even if you haven't got a particular problem with your case study, it's good to listen to other people's issues coming up. So that's an important part of the course, and many people, I think, find that it's a very powerful way to put all this material together in a practical way, because ultimately, you know, you're going to go out there and work with people, and you need to know how to do that. So I think one of the main strengths of our course compared with others is that we do use real, genuine people for these assignments. There's a world of difference between a real person sitting in front of you, and especially 4 of them, and doing paper case studies, you know, theoretical stuff. So I think that's an important part of why I think our course is a good course. We have other assessments. It's important to understand this is a course. This is a vocational qualification. BTEC is a vocational, which means that the focus is on getting the student not only to learn the stuff they need to learn, but also to practice doing things that they will have to do with the qualification afterwards. And of course, the case studies are a perfect example of that. So at the beginning, you do a few quizzes around the basic nutrition stuff. But after that, you have to produce practical things, like you have to produce text and material for flyers that you would give to a prospective client in relation to meal plans, say for a person who's gluten intolerant or diabetic, type 1, type 2 diabetic, you know, who needs sort of help to put together the right kinds of foods and meal plans and things like that. You also have to learn how to do interviews. One of the most key attributes of a good coach is the ability to listen properly. So learning to do interviews properly, in-depth interviews, and recording those properly is a very important part of all this. Case studies were mentioned already. So there's no exam. So that's the other part of this vocational thing. There's no sort of formal exam for the BTEC. You have to satisfy quite a large number of learning outcomes, which are embedded in the different assignments, particularly the case studies. And once you've achieved those, then you've passed, basically. You don't sort of fail the course. If you do an assignment and you hand it in and there's something missing from what we've asked you to do, or you haven't completed it properly or misunderstood it, then basically we just return it to Maria, who handles these things. Will return it to you and explain what's missing, and if you could just complete it properly, and then you send it back, and then it's done, it's signed off. So, you know, there's referrals can happen, but, you know, you just basically just adjust them and then they're fixed. So there's no final exam. There is an alternative for, if you're in Ireland, there's an alternative award, an extra award that you can do, a QQI award, which I'll talk about as we go through. So the course units for the BTEC program, which is the main qualification recognized across the world, is the basics of nutrition. This is actually the largest unit of the course, and it includes the good stuff, I suppose you could say. A lot of nutrition science is very flaky, I have to say, and we need to be able to see through some of the claims and counterclaims and nonsense that's out there. Of course, that's an important part of learning how to deal with people and how to help them, is to help them to sort out the confusion around these things and what's best for them. There are, however, some elements and aspects of nutritional science and physiology that are solid, and we need to get clear about those, because we need to build our knowledge of nutrition on a solid platform. So that's what this first part of the course is about, and it includes quite some detail on the digestive system. And that's the only body system that we cover in great detail in the first year of in the coaching program. And it's necessary that you understand how digestion works quite well, because you'll find that when you work with people, that probably about 80% of them have digestive issues. And so that can help you to figure out what's going on very often if you understand more about digestion. So this part of the course takes a couple of months to complete effectively. And then we go on to another unit called Farm to Fork, which is self-explanatory, I guess. So, you know, the way that we produce food has changed out of all recognition, essentially, in the last 50, 60 years. And we need to understand some of the consequences, the impacts of that, not only on the environment, of course, but also on the quality of the food which we produce and eat. And that includes things like, of course, not only things like pesticide use, and quality of soil, and that implications of that on minerals and stuff like that in foods, but also things like the refining and processing of foods and additives and stuff like that. So this is a very useful and interesting, important part of the course. We learn all about, you know, industrial versus organic type farming, and something about what that means and what the health implications are. And the particular skill that's attached to this unit is label reading, the ability to sit down with a product and actually look at it. Well, not necessarily sit down, we could stand up in a supermarket, of course, but to be able to pick up a product and read through the label and get a pretty clear idea about what's in it, what it's actually made from, and not the story that the producer is trying to transmit to you through the packaging. So label reading is important. It's an important skill, and you'll find that you'll be using that with other people quite a lot. And so we have a workshop day or two, and we might in fact do a whole weekend this year on labeling. Practitioner development for the nutrition and health coach, that's the coaching. That's actual coaching skills. And that's a very intense weekend, which is done before you begin your case study work. And so having the basics of the coaching skills, the coaching approach, you can then go into the case studies and then practice these coaching skills with your real life clients for the rest of the course. That's why the course is structured like this. So the first part of the course, you're starting to learn some important basic stuff. And then in the second part, you're putting that into practice with your clients. I'm going to help you. Other people will help you. Your mentors and Maria and other people will help you. And in that process, while you're learning other stuff as well, of course. That's essentially how it works. So the nutrition and lifestyle coaching is the case studies. It's putting it all in together, making it all work basically for people. It's combining the nutrition with the coaching around things like exercise and stress management and sleep and stuff like that too, because of course those are often critically important parts of the issue, of the goals that people have. Setting up to practice and delivering presentations. Setting up to practice is, if you want to do coaching, how do you do it? How do you set up? How do you do the legal stuff, get the insurance and put it all together, and do the social media stuff. We have people coming in to explain how that works and how to make it successful. Delivering presentations, I mentioned earlier, this is for those who want to teach, give classes and courses. So a lot of people kind of dream of being able to do that, but never done it before. So they're kind of a bit scared about doing presentations. So you have to do a presentation. You can either do it in class or else you can do it online. Most people these days do it using this tool of Zoom through the computer, and we are sitting in the office, and then you're presenting a sort of 15-20 minute presentation to us that you've created yourself, and that works very nicely. Now you'll be relieved to hear that cooking, although it's part of the course, is not assessed. This is not a version of Bake Off, so nobody's going to be after you for for a fantastic loaf of bread or cake or anything like that. But cooking's kind of important. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Just this is just a background thing. It's a sort of standing back for a few minutes. I put this in because I've come across so many people over the years who have done nutrition courses or gone on to nutrition courses. They've either on them or they've completed them, and they're really not happy with the course, because actually it's to a large extent it's their fault, but because they haven't been clear enough about when they started the course what they want to do with it afterwards. So there are nutrition courses out there, plenty of them actually, which cover nutrition, nutritional physiology, public health, nutrition, whatever, but they have no clinical dimension to them whatsoever. They teach you nothing about how to talk to people, how to give them advice, or how to personalize things for people. Nothing at all. And so, if you need to be clear yourself, what do you want to do with a nutrition qualification? Because it may be that this course is not for you. In that case, I mean, if you want to be a dietitian or a public health nutritionist or something like that, or do you want to work as a food scientist, then perhaps this is not for you. But if you want to work with people and try and help them with useful knowledge, practical skills, then this might be for you. Secondly, when you're looking at the value or the whole sort of nature of a nutrition course, some of them are out there are really, well, they're just sort of tiny things. And there are people out there claiming to be able to teach you nutritional therapy in 40 hours and stuff like that, which is nonsense, of course. So you need to be looking carefully at the whole picture of accreditation, the language which is used and stuff like that, the sort of jargon of education. So you're looking for accreditation. That is the accrediting body. Is it a genuine, recognized national accrediting body or international accrediting body? So that's number one. Secondly, the level of a course. The level, and there are different levels, by the way. The system of levels is different in different countries, which is even more confusing. So the level system is different in Ireland compared to the UK, for example. But the level of a course refers to how demanding the assessment is that's used to test the learner's abilities and learning. It relates entirely to the level, not to how long the course was, or to the depth of the material or anything like that. It's about how demanding the assessment is. So if you're asked to write a thesis on something, that's a very high level. If you're asked to do a quiz, a 20-minute quiz, that's a low level. So that's the important thing to understand about that. And the third thing, which gives a lot of insight really actually into the depth of the course, is the learning hours. The learning hours is the number which is assigned to the course by the accrediting body. So they make an assessment of how long it would take the average person to complete the course in terms of learning hours. So that's quite useful too. Because if it's only 40 hours, there's a big difference between 40 hours and 400 hours. So this program of ours is 400 learning hours, for example. And it's level 3 in the UK, which is equivalent to level 5 in Ireland, by the way. So anyway, so we have proper, there are proper awarding bodies here. You can look on more detail about that online on the website if you want. For the main award, the Pearson Award, the BTEC. So BTEC is part of Pearson. Pearson's the largest educational awarding body in the world. And BTECs are recognized right across the world, so from China to Peru, and including, of course, in Ireland and in the UK. So they're well recognized both by private and public sector bodies and employers as well. So there's no problem with BTEC whatsoever. So I'll just explain this. So I've kind of said this already. So the BTEC is a level 3 in the UK, level 5 Ireland, 400 notional learning hours, and it's a Pearson Award. Now the optional extra award that we have for you is a QQI, the old FETAC, Nutrition and Health. And if you're in Ireland, if you have a PPS number, then this might be a good idea. Most of our Irish learners do this, take this option as well. Because basically you don't have to do any more learning. There's no extra curriculum for this, but you do have to do an exam at the end of it, a 2-hour written exam. That's why it's level 6. So it's not a level 5 as the BTEC is, it's a level 6 because of the exam, right? So that's all you have to do. You still have to submit your 4 case studies, but the same 4 case studies for BTEC as for BTEC, so it makes no difference. So that's a useful thing to know. Especially, if you're in Ireland, why not do that one as well? It doesn't cost much extra to do that. There's a modest extra charge for doing that to cover our costs. But that's worthwhile doing. So this is just a picture of the cooking class that we have. We have our own dedicated cooking school where we can take up to about 22 people for these cooking demonstration classes, which last all day long. There'll be one towards the beginning of the course around October, November, and the second will be at the end of the course, end of May, beginning of June next year. So 2 full days of demos. This is a lot of fun, actually. Yeah, it's good fun. The tutor is Maggie Lynch, who's my wife, and a brilliant cooking teacher, and produces wonderful food. And you get tons of recipes and tons of good food to eat at the end of the day, and some to take home with you as well, if you want. So, it's useful. It's really useful. It's not just fun. It's actually really practical, because at the end of the course, you'll have access to a whole library of Maggie's recipes that you can use for yourself or other people as well. This is good, really good whole food cookery. And it also, Maggie uses a lot of perhaps slightly unusual grains and vegetables too, so to give you an idea of how to incorporate kind of special foods for people that may be intolerant to gluten or dairy or stuff like that. This is just a chart comparing coaching with nutritional therapy, which you can find on the website. I'm not going to go through that now. You can have a look at that yourself. So I'm going to talk a little bit about nutritional therapy now, but not so much because, like I said, if you enter our programs, you do the coaching first. And I'll explain why that's the case. If you talk to a successful nutritional therapist and practicing nutritional therapist, they will tell you that they spend most of their time with their clients actually coaching, effectively talking to them about the practical stuff, motivating them, answering their questions, the practical stuff, So the question then might be, well, why would I study nutritional therapy if I've done the coaching? Well, with coaching, you can work with most people, but you don't work with very sick people. As a coach, that would be asking too much of you. It would be inappropriate. You don't take on people, for example, who've been treated for cancer or who have serious metabolic conditions like kidney or liver conditions and things like that, and eating disorders. That's not the work of a coach. So coaches work with people that have, they may have health-related goals, but they're not serious goals. And of course, you're not addressing, as a coach, you're not addressing their diagnosis. You're addressing their lifestyle behavior. This is lifestyle approach to health, which has been missing from healthcare for far too long, quite honestly. And nutritional therapy really is the core element of functional medicine. It is effectively functional medicine. So the unifying thing about the approach of the two things is that it's kind of what's the word? It's getting to the core of things. It's root cause. It's a root cause approach. So what's behind things? It's not trying to get rid of symptoms, just trying to knock out symptoms as you would do with a drug, and which is effectively the same as killing the messenger. It's about trying to get behind that and find out, well, why is the body going wrong? What's going wrong here? What's happening here that we can do with a change of diet or a change of behavior or improvement of daily routines or exercise or whatever it is, that kind of thing. And of course, the body is wonderful, but nobody heals anyone. It's the body that heals itself. If you just give it half a chance, it will do that job perfectly well in most cases. So nutritional therapy is thriving because it works, not because there's any sort of big money behind it or anything like that. So we were the first college to have a nutritional therapy clinic in Ireland back in 2006, where we use that essentially to train our nutritional therapists with complex cases, real people. And it's a very rewarding career, obviously, if you want to go that far with it. But nutritional therapy program is much more in-depth and advanced than the coaching. Again, it's the same kind of job opportunities, but maybe at a higher level for nutritional therapy, and more doors would be open to you. But we have there's lots of health companies, importers, distributors, health foods and producers of new health products in this country. And our graduates are working for all of them, basically. And a lot of the writers and media people, influencers and bloggers and stuff like that are our graduates too. So, and trainers, specialist trainers, we have people developing new supplements, new foods and stuff like that, and running workshops and all kinds of things like that, and going into corporates. A lot of people come from corporate backgrounds and so they feel comfortable going back into that setting and delivering health-related courses. And these days, of course, the corporates have moved on from just sort of making sure people are efficient at work to actually starting to look after them at last. And looking after people inevitably involves looking at their nutrition as well. So the career paths and like coaching, there's all kinds of places you can go with this. So nutritional therapy program is a further 2.5 years after the coaching. Like I said, in order to be a successful nutritional therapist, you need to be a successful coach as well. You need to know about the coaching. So you do the coaching 9 months, then you can go on for 2.5 years more, further 2.5 years to the nutritional therapy if you wish. And in the final 6 months, the last 6 months of the course is mostly about clinical practice in the clinic that I mentioned. So you have to do that part of the course with real people, and you get assessed on that basis. And you can study by attending, you can, but we've had people who have graduated as nutritional therapists with us who we've never met because they live in Australia or Singapore or wherever. So it's possible to do this online as well. It's a bit tricky with the clinical stuff, but we do manage it perfectly well. Tutorials and the same kind of thing, frequent tutorials, a lot of peer group collaboration. You work with small groups of learners, you help each other out. So there's plenty of home study, lots of different assignments, varied assignments, short exams, not big long ones, but sort of 1 hour exams for each body system, that kind of thing. And case study work, more complex case study work, and you at a portfolio of learning that you build up. You have to do research and stuff like that. We'll have a look at that in a minute. What you do need to recognize is that this is a more demanding course. It's a higher level, and you'll need to put in more hours per week. But again, all the people that do our course are working as well, and some of them have kids. So people do make it work. So the units would be really the body systems, not so much the anatomy. Nutritional therapy is really applied physiology. So it's the main systems that we would spend a lot of time with in great detail would be digestive, immune, endocrine, and liver. So those are the elements of the human body that really are the functions that produce the most issues, should we say. So we look at pathophysiology, what goes wrong, biochemistry, the basics of basics of pharmacology too. We need to know about drugs and their interactions with nutrients and each other and things like that. Research, you need to know how to find research, how to access it, how to kind of understand it, how to evaluate it as well. That's important. So that's the bit of the course that I teach. nutritional therapy is bringing it all together, because we study parts of the body, elements of how the body works, but then in practice, how do you sort of integrate that? That tends to happen for most people in the clinic situation. Practitioner development is more of the counseling, more specialized counseling skills, NLP and stuff like that. And then the clinical practice I mentioned already. So that's that program, and I'll explain a bit more about its level and stuff like that now. So this is a program that we tried to get Pearson to accredit, but we tried a few times, but they came back to us and said they couldn't fit our program into their boxes for ticking. They said it covers so many different elements that they recommended a specialized institute, which is it now become an accredited body officially in its own right in the UK. It's called Crossfields Institute, and it kind of works with odd-shaped qualifications, really. It's a specialist institute, but they've accredited this now. So it's level 6 in the UK, level 8 in Ireland, which is, that's BSc honours level. And it's 1,615 notional learning hours, which is effectively almost a half of a honours degree in terms of learning hours. So you've got a course which is at the level of an honours degree, and it's about half of the depth or the distance, if you like, of an honours degree. So it follows the guidelines from the UK. Ireland doesn't have the same guidelines because it doesn't officially recognise nutritional therapy yet, but Britain does, and so we use the British criteria for that. So the National Occupational Standards for Nutritional Therapy as a healthcare profession in the UK, we follow and exceed, and the core curriculum for teaching it. That's all covered by our program. And then there are further training you can go on from that. There's quite a few of our graduates have done BSc or MSc programs in Ireland and elsewhere. And some of them have gone on to do functional medicine programs online with the States, with American institutions and things like that. Now, the learning path that we've developed specifically, which we're quite excited about for ourselves, for our graduates, nutritional therapy graduates, is this one. So we've teamed up with a college in the UK that is similar to ours in a way. The difference being that they've focused always on the higher level qualifications, the BSc and the MSc, whereas I've deliberately focused on the more grassroots stuff because that's my interest. But we kind of dovetail nicely together. So what we've done is to get them to map our nutritional therapy program, this one here, our 2.5-year program, against their BSc honours in nutritional science. And they've given us 100% credit of our program towards the BSc, which means in practice, it means that if you have completed this, you graduate with the nutritional therapy program from us, then you can go and complete effectively the other half of the BSc that you haven't yet done with this college, CNELM, in the UK. And you can do that fully online, by the way. And you can do it, of course, in half the time for half the money. So this is actually a really neat way for people to get into the whole nutrition space as a career. Because of course, you could go straight to CNLM and do the course with them. That's fine. And if you want to do that, that's okay too. But it's important to understand that you won't have a practice qualification. You won't be a therapist. You won't be a nutritional therapist if you go straight and do this. But if you go through our program, you're a coach, number one. Number two, you're a nutritional therapist. And number three, you end up with an honours degree in nutritional science, which is it's a good degree. It covers lots of really important stuff. So that's a really good option. And then the other option that some of our grads are taking and have taken in the past is to go from the nutritional therapy program as graduates with us to their master's program, which is in personalized nutrition, which is a different kind of area. It's more specialized. This is for people who want to work and develop their skills and their competencies one-to-one work with clients. And of course, you can do both if you want to. I mean, there's nothing to stop you. It's just a question of time and money, really, isn't it? Like with anything. So that's a pathway which some of our grads are using and finding very good, very rewarding. So the course fees, just to cover those quickly. So for this year, the course fees are, if you just want to do on the online only version, it's 3,100. For the blended, that is being able to come into the classroom and to the cooking, 3,400. Otherwise, there's no difference between the material in the courses. And of course, if you can't come to the cooking, you'll get all the recipes and stuff like that as well, and videos. Nutritional therapy is 4,300 per year for the first 2 years, and then the final part of the course, 1,600, and that's mostly clinical practice. And that's the cost of the course. But there are also installment options available as well. And if you want to, if you want an interview, if you want to talk to me, for example, to find out if the course is right for you, we don't want people on this course for whom it is not appropriate. So, I want to make sure that it's the right thing for you. So if you're not sure yourself if it's the right thing for you, then ask for an interview with me and I'll talk to you. We can do it through Skype or something, or just phone or something like that. So in the old days, when the course was smaller and when there was fewer of us, then we did that all the time. I do that with everyone. But if you want to speak to me, then that's fine. I'm sure you have more questions, or you might do before you decide to enroll. But if you want to do that, then just call the office, and everyone knows about the course and they can talk to you happily about it whenever you call during office hours. So you can, or you can enroll basically online.